Well, thank you so much, and thank you for the very warm welcome here this evening. I begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and pay my respect to their elders past, present and emerging, and commit my party, the Australian Labor Party in government, to the full implementation of the Uluru Statement from the Heart. Friends, I have a great love for India. It is one that arises from a visit I did to India as a backpacker in 1991, a long time ago now. I must say, if you want to understand the real India, get on a train. Catch a bus or hitch a ride, because you get the experience and the warmth of the Indian people, particularly if you are out there with a backpack on, struggling to find your way around cities like Delhi or Jaipur or Udaipur. I went on a camel safari from Jaisalmer, an extraordinary experience, one that I won't quite forget, and my back won't quite forgive me for. It was a wonderful experience. My last visit to India was in 2018 when I led a parliamentary delegation. And I'm pleased tonight that I'm joined by so many of my parliamentary colleagues. Christina Keneally, the Shadow Minister for Home Affairs. Michelle Rowland, of course, is well known to all of you in the neighbouring electorate here of Greenway, and our Shadow Minister for Communications, our Shadow Minister for Multicultural Affairs, Andrew Giles. We have Sally Situ here, our candidate for Reid. Sally will be an amazing representative, and we've had Andrew Charlton, our candidate for Parramatta, has been here as well. Can I say that one of the things that I admire about the Indian community here in Australia is how hard you work. When you meet people, as I have just met your former president of the Hindu Council, they will just casually say to you, oh yes, I was a professor at the University of New England for a number of decades at Armidale. Your achievements and your contribution to our great multicultural nation go back, of course, a long period of time. But you are also a growing community that is respected for your diligence, for your hard work, for your commitment to Australian values, and for your contribution to science, to medicine, to small business, to hard work, to family as well, that is so important in your culture. The truth is, though, that many of the community are finding it pretty tough at the moment to get ahead. We have circumstances whereby we have falling real wages combined with rising inflation and rising interest rates. Means that the aspirations that you have for yourselves, but also for your children, to have better lives, are things that are getting to be out of reach. We need to address this. Australia is the land of opportunity, a land where people, with the exception of the First Nations community we're privileged to be with, have come to Australia for a better life for themselves and for their children and grandchildren. So whether it is in the area of Parramatta or Blacktown, Liverpool, or indeed Campbelltown, where Anne Stanley is with us tonight as well. These are communities with large multicultural populations, as is my own around Ashfield and Marrickville, whereby people are making a great contribution. We're making a contribution in another area as well, which is, as a multicultural nation, just like India is, we can be a bit of a microcosm for the world to show that in terms of our contribution, we can show that people of different backgrounds can live in harmony and be strengthened by the diversity that multiculturalism brings. But we need to continue to provide opportunity, which is why my party has a plan for cheaper childcare, for cheaper electricity, for cheaper medicines, for more secure work. A plan in order to make sure that as we go forward, we remain a country of aspiration and a land of opportunity where people can be lifted up. So we have here, of course, a number of candidates, and I'm the first candidate, indeed, to run for the position of Prime Minister, certainly in modern times, who comes from a non-Anglo-Celtic, with a non-Anglo-Celtic surname, will reflect much more, I think, multicultural Australia. We have an Albanese leader in the House of Representatives and a woman representing the leadership in the Senate. And we have a very diverse team going forward. I think it is important that we celebrate the culture, the language and the history of our communities. We're strengthened by it. It's one of the reasons why I think we'll talk about the support that we have for community language skills are so important. It's one of the reasons why we campaigned and support legislation for religious discrimination to be outlawed, just like we outlaw with great labour reforms, sex discrimination, racial discrimination. We've defended the Racial Discrimination Act. Of course, at the beginning of this government, they tried to get rid of and water down some of the provisions that were there. We resisted that. We will have religious discrimination legislation, and we'll have religious discrimination legislation that includes in it anti-vilification laws. We understand that people should not be discriminated against because they're identifiable as Hindus. It is an issue for your community. It's an issue which we will address through strong legislation, and it's one, I think, that will strengthen the harmony in our community. We'll also strengthen, of course, a range of other measures that we'll talk about tonight. On trade, the Indian resurgence, India will grow very soon over coming years to the third largest economy in the world. India has played such an incredible role with companies like Tata and others having a strong presence here, growing jobs. That economic relationship and the strengthening of those ties are really important. And we have in this country as well an opportunity to benefit from the fact that we are so close to and living in the fastest growing region of the world in human history ever, is this region we are in right now. So whilst in the earlier period after Europeans arrived in Australia, we were disadvantaged by the tyranny of distance. Now it is not just our advantage but our opportunity to grow those economic relationships. And one of the great strengths that we have is the community here that we have, is the diaspora. Those people-to-people links. When I was in New Delhi leading the parliamentary delegation, I spoke at the inaugural meeting that we established the Australian-Indian Alumni Association. People link through our universities, through our intellectual connections, are a great asset for our country. And we need to do that to revitalise the aajKal report, dust it off and actually get it done. What's there? Make sure that we increase those trade links as well. I'll conclude with this before I think we're going to have a little Q&A session. But when I arrived in India leading this delegation, I'd already seen the wonderful Taj Mahal, and the delegation were going off to the Taj Mahal we arrived on the Saturday night, and this was on the Sunday. And I said to our High Commissioner and to the team there that I wanted to go and see the Swami aajKal there in New Delhi. They were somewhat concerned, and my security detail who are here today might want to shut their ears to this, because this will cause them some concern down the track perhaps. They were somewhat concerned that a parliamentarian from Australia was intending to get on a train and go by public transport on the magnificent metro system that had been built in recent times in New Delhi to go see this great centre of spirituality that is there. But I wanted to do it on the train. If you want to meet people in a country and engage, catch a train. That's what I did. I was welcomed, I was given sweets, people wanted to chat with me. I stood out a bit, I've got to say, on the train. I stood out a bit. I did have, there are photos of me on my social media with my South Sydney hat on, sorry to say that here in Parramatta. Heading out, and it was such an extraordinary day. And as I went around, I'm sure many of you have been to the temple there. It is very large indeed. It's quite a walk from the train station, it must be said as well. And there's quite a queue to get in. But as I went around, one of the things that enriched me that day and will stay with me my whole life is the people who were coming up to me, clearly this non-local, I stood out a bit, wanting to and explaining to me the meaning, spirituality, the importance to the Hindu faith of that magnificent temple and shrine there. And it was a great experience in my life. That's one I'll never forget. And I look forward to engaging with you and going back to India. I will certainly commit to going back to there if I'm elected as Prime Minister of Australia. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tony, for the beautiful narration of train journey in India. It was really good. The priests from the temple are here. They are here to bless you and wish you good luck for the coming elections.
Verses that we are about to chant is addressing the celestial king to be permanently placed in his seat, so that the celestial blessings are about to offer. So this is to be dedicated to the deity that is the universal goddess and God of the king and queen, representing for their blessings.
Rastram
तस्य राजा वरुणोऽधिराजः नक्षत्राणागं सदविषट्वसिष्ठः देवेभ्यः कृणुतो दीर्घमायुः चित्रनक्षत्रं भवति चित्रं वा एतत्कर्म यदश्वमेध समृद्ध्यै।
VG Times. Be with the times.